Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first afternoon session we have in the Kayak Conference, which is an annual conference that's done just for youth services people, those that work with children and teens and everything that surrounds them. My name is Amy Olson, and I'm your youth services consultant here for the state of Kentucky. And I have the pleasure of introducing the amazing Catherine Bullock. Catherine is the education director, and she also is the Kentucky Green Schools program coordinator at the Kentucky Association for Environmental Education. So that's like a statewide nonprofit organization that works to connect and train Kentucky's environmental educators like us. So she's been there since 2020, and she really has interest in process science and process art, so the hands-on, experiential, and play-based and also place-based learning. And she loves connecting people. So she's just a really knowledgeable person to know and a good person to have in your network. Where we've also connected with KAEE is Catherine also oversees the Kentucky Project Wild. And we've had several workshops in those veins in the last year. So just Catherine, thank you for being here. We really appreciate all that you've already done just to be with us at this moment in time. And we look forward to learning much from you. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. It is so wonderful to be here. I personally love librarians in general. You all are some of my most favorite people on earth. So it was really exciting to be asked to join you all in your professional learning today. So a real quick question, can you all see me, or is that something that, do I need to keep my video on?
We can see you. We can see you if you want us to, but you could turn it off too.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine. I was just curious. Perfect. Okay. Well, so glad I see more names coming in as we go here. So welcome everyone. As I said, I'm really delighted to be here and to be able to present at such a fun conference. I know you all do such tremendous work on the daily at libraries all across the state, and we just really appreciate professionally and personally, I really appreciate what you all do every day to teach and to educate and to enhance the lives of so many folks here in Kentucky. So today we are going to learn a little bit more about the re-envisioned and recently kind of launched Kentucky Green Schools program and how your library might become involved in that. So we will touch on that mostly. I will give you a little bit of background of KAE in case there are other ways that we can kind of think about partnering and that sort of thing. But really glad to have you here. As Amy mentioned, my name is Catherine, and I am the Education Director and Project Wild Coordinator, as well as the Green Schools Coordinator for Kentucky. And we're really just excited to see what connections and partnerships kind of grow after today's session, and as we kind of embark on our Green Schools journey together as a state. Some of you, we will dive into that in just a moment, but first I just would love to, if you want to introduce yourself in the chat. I know a lot of you probably know each other, but some may not. If you would like to go ahead and say hello in the chat and list your name and your library, or maybe your specialty, a good joke, it's after lunch, whatever you want to put in there is great, but it'd be great to just, if you want to do that. And if you have questions that come up throughout the session, feel free to put them in the chat, and I will be doing questions near the end, but you can also feel free to interrupt me. I'm not I'm not too set in my schedule here, so if something comes up, feel free to stop me and we can touch on things as we go. So for those of you who are not familiar with all the EE acronyms here, I just kind of wanted to clarify that as Amy said, KAEE, the Kentucky Association for Environmental Education, we are the state nonprofit network of environmental educators in Kentucky. But this program, Green Schools, is actually a partnership with another acronym, KEEC, which is the Kentucky Environmental Education Council. So a lot of people think we're the same thing, which is very understandable, but the council is actually our state agency in Frankfort that oversees environmental ed in Kentucky. So we'll talk more later about that partnership and the opportunities that this program provides. But before I just wanted to kind of let you know about those acronyms, and kind of to present. Our hope is by the end of this webinar that you feel a little more confident and prepared to kind of, first of all, to know about what Kentucky Green Schools is all about, but also we're hoping that you will join us as a community partner, which is a free thing, and we'll talk about it as how you can support learners in your community, becoming more environmentally conscious students, leaders, and ultimately citizens. So I know some of you are new to the idea of environmental education. Some of you are veterans. And so I just want to let you know that Green Schools is just one of the many programs that we offer at KAE. And so we are just very excited that you are here in this session and hope that you will continue to join us as kind of part of the network that we have in the KAE family. It really is a family. It's such great, I mean, everyone I have met in this network is just an incredible human. It is such a great network of people to know. So whether you are a Green School partner or someone who attends a Wild or Project Wet or a Learning Tree workshop or someone who comes to our conference or whatever it is, we hope that you will connect with us in one way or the other. So just a quick background about us, as it's not a new organization, and it is not just us. You are the we are a connector of educators. We have many librarians in our network already, lots of folks that work, whether it's formally in the classrooms with kids or non-formally at nature centers or, zoos, aquariums, things like that. And we've been around since 1976, and we are actually quite a leader in the field of environmental ed. When I started working here in 2020, I was actually kind of surprised to learn that Kentucky actually does some really groundbreaking work here in Kentucky around environmental ed, and are always kind of doing new things that kind of leading the field in a lot of ways. Like I said, you are part of that and we are excited about that. And of course, our mission is centered around increasing environmental knowledge, also engaging communities, working towards sustainability, all of those things that fit so perfectly to the Green Schools program that I'm going to be talking mostly about today. So really looking at where you all come in here, helping learners grow, whether that's supporting schools or in the school or schools coming to visit the library after school, those sorts of things, all sorts of ways that we can help bolster what they're learning during the day, hopefully at school or not, or being a supplement to what they're not learning. But for those who are not, if you're not as familiar with EE, here's a brief definition from our overarching umbrella organization, the North American Association for Environmental Ed. And what I like about this definition is it's a lot of action words. It's talking about how environmental education is a process that helps people develop those skills and learn and knowledge about the environment, but it also, those action words like informing and inspires, it influences and motivates, and ultimately hopefully creates healthier and more civically engaged communities. So all of the good things, it really sometimes feels lofty, but it's, we have to have those big goals if we want to make change. So I thought it would be good to review that. I'm going to actually skip through a few of these. I wanted to talk just briefly. Like Amy said, some of you have maybe even heard of or participated in one of our curriculum project trainings. We do workshops that are very project-based, hands-on, minds-on, participatory. So if you've been to a Project Wet or Project Learning Tree, Project Wild, Leopold Education Project, lots of things that you might have come home with a big guide full of hands-on activities that you can do with your patrons and families. We do hope that you will reach out to us if you ever are in need of more curriculum enhancement for some programming, and we really love to help folks kind of flesh out their environmental education tool belt, as it were, giving you all more resources, hopefully, and connecting you with more folks in your community or nearby. So we are the host for these nationally known programs. So like we are the trained facilitators that then go out and train others to teach as well. And we also have our online courses. So if it's hard for you to make a in-person training, we do have the EE credentials program. So all of these things are on our website, and it's on most of the slides there in the corner, kae.org. So you feel free to peruse those, at your leisure. But those EE credential course, or those courses, kind of combine to make credentials, and so you can earn different credentials such as the professional learning leader or the green community leader. So if you are in search of other professional PD kind of options, we have a lot of great options for you all. And as I mentioned, we have folks go through our trainings, but then we also train trainers. So we have a facilitator network. Several, I know we have several already in our network that are librarians who offer workshops at their library. So they have been trained as a KAE facilitator, and then go out and do trainings under kind of the KAE umbrella. So we do have a map of folks all across the state that are basically saying, hey, we offer these things. So just wanted to let you know there's lots of options in our KAE network. So all of this to say, we hope that you join us, whether it's by, we have a justice, equity, diversity, inclusion, community of practice. If you want to join those Zoom meetings, come to our conference next year in Moorhead, Kentucky. We just hope that you will stay connected. But so a lot of background there, sorry, but I just wanted to make sure you knew we were more than just the Kentucky Green Schools program. But now we're going to kind of dig into the meat of today's session and kind of look at how we can work together on this. As I mentioned, the Kentucky Association for Environmental Ed and the KEC, the Education Council, have historically run two separate programs. So some of you may have heard of the Kentucky Green and Healthy Schools. That was what it was called, that KEC ran previously. So there are some teachers that have participated in that, and we used to run a Project Learning Tree kind of module of green schools. But we thought this would be a kind of post-pandemic would be a great time to kind of launch a stronger and more robust program. So we combined all of the good things and are strengthening it by being together. So in terms of the big picture, the program is basically kind of twofold. We have kind of the major themed investigations so students are kind of learning about the environment and about behavioral steps towards making it better by doing two things. They explore their school and their school grounds by delving into these themed investigations. There are 5 we'll talk about today. And so they're looking around their school. They say they're doing their energy investigation. They collect data. They do research about what their school does around energy. Then after they've done the investigation that we have all the materials for, then they get to kind of think about designing and implementing an action project based on that research. And so that's kind of the two-pronged approach of it. And like I said, there are 5. And we already probably know the why, right? We know why it's important to engage kids in not only green and environmental learning, but also in teamwork and just basically getting kids engaged with not only nature, but also with each other, and kind of looking at, we know the research is strong behind both of those things. So, looking at surveys and of course lots of research has been done about a lot of kids aren't even getting environmental education in school, and a lot of kids don't have that background knowledge. So hopefully we're hoping that the investigative part will help with some of that gap. And I know as librarians, I'm sure you've read a lot about all of these things. There's that this book, Last Child in the Woods, if anyone has read that one. We're looking at kind of helping to alleviate some of these nature deficit disorder type issues that children and teens have today. So just kind of obvious background information for most of you. But the other thing is also just the opportunity we have. If we think about the number of people, not just kids, but people that spend their days in K-12 schools, pre-K-12 schools, it's 1 in 5 people in the U.S. spend their time most days in a school institution of some sort, whether it's a nature-based school or a public school. But so it's kind of this program is kind of an opportunity to help connect students and also to find alternative and sustainable solutions to issues that they come up with. So it's just a great kind of place to kind of capture a lot of people. Obviously they have to go to school, so it'd be great if more and more schools and community partners supported this program. And of course, we know what it helps. We from studies show that, of course, environmental education programming helps with all of these things: science scores, physical health, behavior, emotional, feeling your sense of place and community involvement. Things like that are all kind of goals that we have in the program. Excuse me. So, and we already talked about student benefits like leadership and problem solving, all of these things deepening their sense of place and teamwork experience. So those are all reasons for kids to participate. And schools, of course, can have, whether it's energy savings costs or cost savings or improved learning, connecting with community partners, that sort of thing. But for you all are really in more of this boat. You're more the community partner folks. And so why would you want to participate in Kentucky Green Schools? One of the reasons is it's just another way to fulfill your mission of, helping your community, stronger ties to your community by that avenue of the Green Schools program. And hopefully, if you are a part of that, we have a map of community partners. So like if you're, say your teacher down the road looks on this map of who can support my green team as we investigate various things at school, they see the library offers education programs and outdoor programs, or you can bring out environmental ed kind of themed books or whatever it is, whatever program you offer, you're increasing your visitor engagement, whether you are going to the school, of course, or they're coming to you. And of course, building that healthier community and region, and hopefully helping them be lifelong curious people, right? Engaged and connected. And so we hope that you all will consider, as I go through this, kind of get your wheels turning of how you might be able to kind of engage with your community through this program and other ways as well. So I'm gonna forward my slide here. This is the map I was just mentioning. So like I said, and we just launched this summer, so we're still building this map. We will hope to have tons of dots very soon, but we'd love for you to be one of these dots. And so I'll show you where to go on the website to become a community partner, but it's totally free to be listed, and you give your contact information to local teachers. Or whoever is looking on the map. It's on our webpage, and then they can see not only your contact info, but also the environmental or sustainable themed resources that you offer, whether it's field trips or after school programs, things like that can all be listed. And they don't have to be free programs. It's not saying you have to provide free programming necessarily, but I think most libraries do. But anyway, all that to say is it's a great resource, not only for teachers, but also for you all to see who else in your area is doing cool stuff. Like if you have a nature center in the next county over that you didn't know about, that maybe you could partner with for a program or that sort of thing. So lots of opportunity with that map. So when a teacher or a community partners, when they're ready to start, you just go to the website, which is ke.org/greenschools, and there are getting started recordings and things like that. But there are two online forms. There's one if you want to be a school, there's a form, and then there's a separate community partner form under the resources button there at the top. So basically what I kind of wanted just to give you a background of what a teacher would do. So they'd fill out that registration form, and then that's when they get access to the investigations. We don't have those available just for everyone because we want people to sign up so we can get connected with them, and so we know who's interested. It is still free though. So after they come download the investigations, that's when they will form a green team and then hopefully complete investigations and action projects, and then we get to recognize them and celebrate. So that's kind of a general big bucket items there. And like I said, there's those forms. This would be for the teachers, just a very brief Google form getting their contact information. And this is what you would fill out if you're interested. Very brief form, once again, name, contact info, what you might offer to the community or to teachers. You would be able to have access to those 5 investigations. Then those are all downloadable, and you can print those out, or you could just keep them bookmarked. Either way, but that's how you get that access. Is I would go in, give you access, and send you an email saying you now have access, and here are the other things that we offer. So these are the 5 main investigations, and that is, like I said, each one kind of highlights a different part of the school day or school building or the grounds. So school site is the outdoor grounds, school environment is more of the indoor, like the air quality, I guess transportation's outside, but the chemical usage and things, so it's a little more inside, inward facing. But those are kind of the 5 that investigation areas. And we do hope that teachers, and whether it's a teacher or you all as community partners, you really are facilitators instead of kind of lecturers. You know, instead of telling them what they're going to investigate, what they're going to do, we're letting students lead the way is the goal for this program. Is we're getting them together, we're facilitating a nurturing space for them to create a green team and to explore together and to come up with creative ideas together. And so when teachers are forming a green team, that's when they might call people like you, people that are on the map, and say, hey, would you like to partner with us? It might not be as a member of the green team. It might just be like come in and for a special guest appearance or something, or we might come to the library to do some research about, you know, water conservation or how to use permeable pavers, you know, something like that. There are many different ways they might contact you, or you might reach out to schools. It might not always be folks contacting you. You might have to do some of that connecting help as well. But the green teams can include teachers and students, administrative staff, custodians. It could be family guardians like my grandparents, cafeteria, whoever. So, you know, especially if it's an after-school club, that gives it a little more flexibility. And as I mentioned, those downloadable pieces are basically little mini curriculum guides. And so that's what the cover sheets look like, but those are what you would gain access to. And you as community partners would also gain access, so you can kind of know what your local schools are studying. So I'm just going to kind of briefly look through just some of these to give you kind of an idea of how they're formatted and that sort of thing. So here's each investigation, of course, has a nice table of contents and objectives. So of course, for the energy one, kids are learning about their school's energy use. And they're using things like infrared thermometers, watt meters, light meters. They're using those scientific tools to help collect and record data. And so they might be looking at, you know, lighting options and exploring how energy is being used and how and why it's important. So that's also a place where they might bring in somebody from a local energy company. We have some solar folks on board and all sorts of alternative energy ideas as well being generated. But so those are kind of looking at kind of how they might improve their school's energy use. And then in that packet of curriculum, there are those data sheets and things that the teachers need. So they don't have to recreate the wheel. There's already kind of a guide. And we're hoping that this will make it simpler and quicker for teachers to use, so that they're not having to come up with their own kind of investigation process. So I'm not going to go through all that, but we also really are excited about the way that all of these investigations help connect kids to ideas about green careers. And I'm sure that librarians are also involved in some of that in terms of helping kids research and be inspired to look into different things they can do with their life. So obviously these are just a few ideas, but you know, of course, people that, whether it's environmental scientists or, you know, HVAC people, weatherization folks, are hoping that we'll just kind of broaden that idea of what you can do in terms of a green career in the future. And then in terms of action project ideas, you know, the goal is for students to come up with their own creative ideas that address specific issues at school. We do have, you know, ideas kind of as jumping off launching pads here, just some simple ideas that they can then go and run with. So obviously adjusting lighting, looking at taking advantage of natural lighting. I know at my kids' school, they do that. They use the twinkle lights and the natural light, and it's really good for, I think, the mood of the classroom as well as the energy use. Adjusting heating and air conditioning, looking at, you know, LED lights, vending machine misers, all sorts of ideas around that. And then the next one is the school environment. And like I mentioned, this is the one where they're looking more at the air quality. They're analyzing data about transportation and cleaning. What chemicals are being used? What is in the air we're breathing every day? What is it that all of the, thousands of students and teachers and staff members are inhaling? Getting some more information about, what's in our air, what's in the school building, what's right outside our door. And so, like I said, there's those data sheets are all ready to go. Lots of green career connections of folks that you could bring in. I know we have a really great air quality division in Frankfurt that will come out and do all sorts of cool things with folks, as well as other microbiology kind of folks, pollution mitigation, lots of ideas in that department. And in terms of project ideas, lots of ways to work with school administrators to hopefully make changes. And so whether that's a no idling zone in the bus lane or the car rider lane, little changes like that can really, really add up if we think about all of the schools in Kentucky. If everybody could do one or two of these action projects, it would really be amazing. The school site one is my favorite because I love being outside and researching the grounds of schools. And I think grounds of schools are sometimes, they're utilized for recess, of course, but underutilized for regular time, regular curriculum and learning times. So not only will this investigation, they're going to be looking at what plants and wildlife are around the school. What is there access to gardening? What kinds of trees are around your school site, that sort of thing. And so as a librarian, if you're thinking about programming that might relate, things about, whether it's going out to the school and helping kids identify trees with, or plants and things like that, or learning about the native animals in the area, even if it's just, squirrels, but some of the rural schools might have, even here in Lexington, we have foxes at Picadone, there's all sorts of, we had a whole fox den with little babies here in the city of Lexington. So lots of ideas here for kind of looking at ways to use the grounds and the outdoors for learning. And like I said, there's those data sheets, green careers, of course, foresters, landscape design. You could really pull art and design and architecture into this one, as well as gardening and arborists, things like that would be awesome. This is just a screenshot of a Google map of where we did our outdoor learning symposium this year in Murray, Kentucky. And here's North Callaway Elementary. And as you can see to the right here, we have these, it's kind of farmland. So the students wouldn't be allowed to be there. But on the left, you'll see, well, at the top, you'll see those little brown kind of oblong circle, like ovals. That's where the playground is. And so that's where they always are, which is great. But then there's all this space on the left and even some in the front that really is being underutilized. So in this investigation, kids are kind of looking at what they have and what they're using and what they could use. So it's kind of inspiring to see kind of what options they might have if they kind of, bring it up and talk about it. And lots of ideas in terms of, planting trees, pollinator gardens, container gardens, helping improve wildlife habitat. One school I was talking to a couple of weeks ago was saying they're going to do a kind of a, what did they call it? It was a cultural garden. They were going to combine their study of different cultures with their gardening project. And so they were going to grow various vegetables that would go into various dishes that would represent various countries. And then they were going to invite chefs from various cultures to come and use those things after they grew those vegetables or whatever. They would use those to create dishes for a family night. So it was like a really cool layering of programming in terms of ways to bring in, different cultures, different different content, not just science, but we're looking at, whether it was art or the art of cooking and that sort of thing, but also bringing in families and the community. So it was kind of a neat way to kind of interpret this program. So the sky's the limit. Waste and recycling. A lot of schools already have some have some sort of like little recycling program, but some don't, and so, looking at ways to improve, how much of how much food is being thrown away, how much, what is the cafeteria using? Are they only using styrofoam? Are there ways to change some of these things in small quantities or big? And so all that data collection is there. And of course, green careers, you could have all sorts of connections there. And we have like a recycling center here in Lexington. Folks can tour kind of as needed or by appointment only, I should say. So lots of ways to kind of let kids know what does happen. There is no away. Like when you throw something away, it's not really gone forever, right? So helping them kind of go through that and make their school a greener place. So whether that is, reducing waste in the cafeteria or starting a more robust recycling program, things like that, reusing items, having students swap items instead of throwing them out, things like that. And, I think that could be a really neat connection with libraries and communities of like, everybody bring in, whether it's a book or a, media item that they are done with, but instead of throwing it out, doing kind of a swap, things like that. And of course, and the last one here that we'll talk about is water, and of course, very important always. But looking at improving not only the use of, but also the conservation and sustainability of water on campus and also at home. There's a lot of home connections in these investigations as well. So yeah, and there's again more green careers to just a few examples there. And of course, action projects. I mean, we, from rooftop gardens to rain barrels to community stream cleanup events, marking city storm sewers for no dumping, lots of ideas just to kind of be the jumping off point. Before I go on anymore, do we have questions about anything that I've talked about in the first little bit here? I guess I need to look at the
chat. There's nothing in the chat, but I would assume they're writing things down. So the slides will also be available through your Blackboard portal. So if you miss the things that Catherine's showing you, because boy, there's a lot, it'll be there. So
great, thank you. And sorry if I talk too fast. I tend to do that, but if you have questions, just pop them in there and slow me down if you need to. But the fun part, and the whole thing is fun, but one of the things we're excited about is being able to recognize students and teachers and schools and communities for what they've done. And so, a lot of these things are already happening. There's a lot of teachers that have been doing green teams and have been doing recycling and have been doing outdoor classrooms for years, and then maybe not getting any recognition or have gotten some a couple years ago, something like that. But we're very excited to be able to share their success and also to let the community know what's happening in their schools and to let the schools know what's happening in the community. So we also have a community partner toolkit, the KGS toolkit. So if you were to sign up as a free partner, we would send you a media toolkit that would include things like an email signature graphic that says proud supporter of Kentucky Green Schools, things that would help you kind of make that connection with folks. We also have some social media graphics already made for you that you could easily just turnkey post or press releases, things like that, that if you need them, obviously you wouldn't have to, but if you needed them, you could use them. And that's what, this is what the toolkit kind of looks like. It's, there are things like this. There's different age group pictures and things if you wanted to pick and choose. But our goal is to try to make this as easy as possible for folks that I know this isn't the main part of your job, but we're hoping to make it simple and seamless as we can. And so when they get recognized, there are 4 different kind of levels. So like if a school completes one action project, they are a Silverleaf member or award winners, and they get a small banner for their school that says that they won this award. And the gold level would be 2 to 4 action projects. They get a different banner that has the gold level, and then green is if they do all 5 projects. And that's when they get the big flag as well. And then we go out to the school and present all that in person. And so if, say, you're a community partner with your elementary school down the street, you would be obviously invited to something like that to help recognize them, to, take a picture with the kids and their flag and show some of your support for all the good work that hopefully will happen. And then model green schools are pretty cool too. If they complete all the investigations and kind of commit to doing at least one per year for the ongoing, then they become kind of models or mentors for the rest of other schools who are just starting. And so that's where we might invite them to one of our events, whether it's the conference that we host every year or our outdoor learning symposium that's also annual. That's where they would be sometimes highlighted or interviewed. We hope to have students, actually kids, coming out and talking to folks about how to do these things. So we know the students change more frequently than the teachers, but just hoping to get some real testimonials and support for each other among the participants in the program. We also have the Green Ribbon Schools is also another option for students or for teachers. So like I mentioned, our state agency runs this program, and so that's just an additional recognition program. They can apply for Green Ribbon status as well. So that's a whole other thing. And then our National Energy Education Development, they also do a program. So that's just another way they can be recognized. They do a Youth Awards Summit. So those are more for teachers, but I just wanted to let you know that was a thing. And then we have at our annual conference, like I mentioned, we just did one in September, Cave City, Kentucky. It was really cool. We do this annually. Next one's going to be in Moorhead, and we try to move it around in the state, but we have various awards for, environmental educators, like Rising Star Environmental Ed, and then this one will be for the Green School of the Year, so one that kind of stands out as a special and outstanding pre-K through 12 green school. So that is something that we will accept nominations for. So like say you're working with a middle school in your county and you want to nominate them, those nominations are open February through June, and then they get awarded in September. So there's lots of more information about that if you want to help highlight someone that might need a little extra recognition. So I know that I've kind of talked really quickly. I always do that. But I'd love to kind of hear from you all. First, if you have questions, that's great. But also kind of curious if anybody, if folks would be comfortable with unmuting and talking a little bit about, if you have done programming like this before, if this is kind of spurring any new thoughts on how you might want to partner with schools. Just would love to kind of hear from you all because you are the ones that are experienced with working with your local schools and teachers. So I guess first, are there any questions before we get into that? And like I mentioned, and I can share the link later, but if you are interested in signing up, it's kae.org/green schools, and then you would just go to resources, and that's the tab where the community partner form would pop up. But is there anyone who would be comfortable sharing in terms of, have you done programming like this before? Have you found things that worked really well? Are there ideas that popped up during the presentation that you'd like to share? Just curious if anybody would like to kind of have some discussion here.
Let me say that anyone, please feel free to grab the mic, or if you'd like to, please go ahead and text in the chat. I was thinking of the different things that you've posted, is that you had a list of ways to like integrate water, and that was just and all the different resources too that ties into environmentalism, and those could be just so useful, so that we don't have to use our brain to recreate the wheel every time, but you have essentially program ideas right there for us. And a lot of the counties have less staff, than they used to have or than they need to have now, so that
Yeah.
having someone have our back and helping us think is pretty amazing. So
Hmm.
that just seemed like an incredible resource just to have kind of start on my computer.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what we're hoping is that, it doesn't have to be used as a prescription, but more of as a springboard, a place to start, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, we hope that is helpful.
Right. And some of the things we've been talking about over time too has been how to integrate anything environmental or outdoors or alive into programming that we're doing, so that kids can have to have involved yet another sense or multiple senses. So that's been something else that we've been focusing on throughout the years. And so it's nice to have, yet again, more resources that we can integrate into that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious. So, I know a lot of, sorry, was somebody trying to say something or am I echoing?
I think you're echoing.
Okay, sorry. Thought I was talking over somebody. I was curious, I know in summer reading there's always a theme, but I didn't know if as youth librarians, if you were kind of are required or just like choose your own themes throughout the year, if that's something this could integrate into, or if that's something that you don't really have control over.
Did someone want to respond to that? Oh, you all are being shy this day. It depends on the county, Catherine.
Okay.
Some county across the state, we here at KDLA um, purchase the rights to materials for a summer reading theme, and that theme actually goes throughout the whole year, so we can use those materials throughout the year or even in years to come. Having said that, none of the counties are required to use the materials.
Okay.
They can do whatever they want and create any themes that they want, or they could pull themes from previously and use those.
Okay.
It's really determined by each county individually.
Hmm.
We at KDLA just have a resource available, so it may make someone's life easier. And it's the resource that we have is put together by 38-ish states. And
Okay.
yeah,
And
so
that's just for the summer, right? So you would have other times of year that you can do. Obviously, like the family programming is kind of up to each individual branch then.
mhm.
Like,
Yeah,
okay, very
every
cool.
location and county comes
Yeah.
up with their own, or they can use the materials that we have. And
Yeah.
historically the materials were just for the summer, or that was kind of the target. Over the last few years they've been trying we've been expanding it to year wide, and so like some of the images actually have snow or skiing or things
Right.
like that. um,
Yeah.
as a lot of agent or counties are starting to do a week-long fall program or winter break program, or
Right.
continuing to do it. Just every county does something different, and there are some definitely crossovers all over. But
Right. Right.
this definitely all anything environmental can, and everything that you presented could, it's can be integrated.
Yeah.
Most of the themes and slogans that are come up with are broad enough that things can be integrated into them.
Right. That's great.
Oh, here.
Mhm.
Thanks, Leah. Yeah, and STEAM is really big in libraries, especially with a lot of the public schools teaching according to when things are being tested. So fourth grade's a
Right.
lot of science, and then fifth grade it tends to trickle off, and then
Right.
history picks up. So we try to balance things too, and or
Yeah.
at least have other options for when the kids want science or history or whatever is having to be receive not as much focus.
Right. And it's funny, I keep thinking like, oh, well, the students are kind of going to come do research, but like, I know everybody does research online now, but I hope that there are still kids out there that are, coming to the library to learn about various topics, and, hopefully that's still being taught. I know my kid only has library like once a couple of times, like maybe twice a year. They don't have it as a special or even. So I'm just curious, if you all have ways or ideas of ways to engage schools or students in researching in the library itself, or if you all go out to schools and kind of talk. I was curious if anybody had insight to share about that. Like if they were, say, they're studying trees in their school grounds, is there an easy way for students, like I guess that's kind of your job, is to help them when they come in looking, but I was curious if that is something already that you all do kind of programming around.
I was waiting to see if anyone responded.
Everybody's quiet. It's okay.
Yeah, Leah posted in the chat. She's from Corbin Public that they've integrated a lot of sciences, and specifically she talked about it being integrated into the summer. And,
yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah,
especially to kind of that gap learning time when they're, to have that extra resource in the summer is awesome.
For sure. Well, Catherine, thank you for being here. What a wealth of information we just got. So again, all these slides will be available to you through your through the Blackboard portal. Oh yeah, Susan from Pew from Breathitt County just responded too. So it's
great.
They work with schools, attempt to provide programs and resources for teachers. We've also seen a large increase in homeschoolers since the pandemic. So that's a whole other group that has really grown in the last few years in ways that we can help them. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for joining, and please reach out if you have any questions at all. And like she said, all my info is there in the slides, and I can send follow-up too if you'd like. But we hope that you'll stay involved, whether that is in the Green Schools program or other avenues. But thanks again. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Catherine, for being here and sharing with us all the work that you did to prepare. This is just wonderful, and I'm confident it will be used.
All right.
Also,
awesome.
I need to do and want to do a shout out to the Institute of Museum and Library Services to thank them for supporting us and allowing us to, or enabling us to be able to do conferences like this. Go ahead and take a stretch break, y'all. Choose your room you're going to be in. We have 3 great selections coming up at 2 o'clock. So you have 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central, and you have 13 minutes to stretch. So thanks again, Catherine.
Thank you.